Hi, I'm Michelle Chalfant, psychotherapist, holistic life coach, and human just like you, learning to navigate life's challenges. With over 25 years experience, I teach people how to get healthy using the adult chair model. The adult chair model is where simple psychology meets grounded spirituality, and it teaches us how to become healthy adults. From anxiety and depression to codependency and relationship issues, you can use the adult chair for just about anything. Each week, I share practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and a wide range of experts on how to get unstuck, how to live authentically, and how to truly love yourself, all while sitting in your adult chair. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. Hello, 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 everyone. It is Michelle Chalfant, and as always, I'm delighted to be here with you today, sitting in my adult chair. Today is a day of celebration for all of us, including you, and you don't even know it, maybe. It is, guess what? The 200th episode of the Adult Chair Podcast today. And ironically, or coincidentally, not that anything is coincidental, I couldn't even believe it because we looked at the downloads for this week. We are at 2 million downloads of this podcast. I need a mic drop. I'm like, what? Absolutely. What a surreal day. This whole day, everything is surreal today for me. I remember way back when in the very beginning of this podcast, when Pete, who was my producer back then, came to me. He was a marketing guy too. So he was doing my website and he also did podcasts. And he said, when he did the whole website, he said, this is good stuff, this adult chair. You should do something with this. And I said, like what? And he said, what about a podcast? And I was like, what's a podcast? This is probably 2014. And I was like a radio show? I said, who's going to want to listen to me? I don't want to talk about what I do. And he goes, no, this is good. And we went back and forth about it for a while. And I finally said, you know what? I love helping people and I give homework at the end of every session. So what I could do is let's do some episodes, maybe every other week. And it will be a great resource for my clients because, when they leave my office, I want to give them something to do. So this is a great thing. I'll just do some podcasts for them. And he's like, okay. He probably knew it was going to be bigger than that. But I said, well, let's just start. So we started way back when, every other week. And then very, very quickly, we went to every week, and here we are at episode 200. Just shocking. So I'm so grateful and honored, honestly, to sit here every single week with you guys. And this is beyond my wildest dreams that we would ever hit 2 million downloads. So I really am blown away. And I want to thank all of you. And I know so many of you reach out to me on social media and in emails letting me know how the adult chair has changed or is changing their lives. And let me tell you, way back when, in my early life, when I was living with anxiety and depression and PTSD and codependency, I wished there was something like this out there for me. So that's another reason why I make sure I show up every single week, because I want a resource for people that might feel hopeless, or just maybe even that are just looking for guidance. Because I know I was looking for that way back when. And it was hard because there was no internet. I was going to the library looking around, and there was not a therapist in every corner. So we're so blessed now to have podcasts and the internet. But still, when we're in a bad place or looking for direction or just feel stuck, I hope that is what this Adult Chair Podcast is providing for you guys. Because man, it still helps me every single day. And I'm thrilled to be able to help all of you in some way, even if it's a small way, on your life path. For me, living in my adult chair has provided for me just greater peace. I think I've talked to you guys before about peace versus happiness. Happiness is something that is spiky. It's like, I got a new car, or I'm dating, or I got a new outfit. And it's like, wow, I'm so happy. And then it falls, after a few days or a few months, and it's like normal again. Where peace is something that we can really maintain. And that's my goal. I strive for that every day, just to live with greater peace in my life. And that's something that I have really been able to attain plugging in the adult chair into my own life. And it continues to transform my life. And as I said, I hear from all of you guys it's doing the same. So again, just very honored to be here with you. So today, in our 200th episode, I am going to go over just a few things with you guys. Number one, I'm saying thank you. Number two, I get asked this question all the time. Where did this model come from? I'm going to break it down for you today and tell you where this model came from. I'm going to go over again, just very quickly, what the 3 chairs are again. And also, when I use the model, there is a process that I use. But what I realized is, and this has been hitting me for the last few months, like it's not really written down. So you guys hear me plugging in, different things into the chairs. And I thought, there's an official process to this, I guess I might call it. And I have that for you guys. And it's a 6-step process that you can use and plug it into any issue that you're having. And it will help you find your adult chair. It helps you figure out what chair you're in and you find a new truth. It's a beautiful process. So I'm really excited to give that to you guys today. And also, the last thing we're going to talk about is how you can get involved. So lots of things to talk about today. But first, I want to start out one more time and say thank you. And thank you not only for writing in on email and social media, but thank you for the comments that you make on the apps where you're listening to the podcast. Like I go to Apple Podcasts and I go to Spotify. Like I go to all of these places and just see, because sometimes people have questions. I got to take care of everybody. There's my codependency coming through. I do my best, but it's a little overwhelming when there's so many, but I do read them and I'm so appreciative. I was in Amazon the other day. We've got the Adult Chair book and I looked at the comments. I'm like, thank you guys. Like the thing is when we leave comments, it helps other people find the show. And again, people that are suffering out there, I want to give them hope. So it really is helpful. So I really, again, thank you. And thank you again for all the emailed comments and social comments. I really do read all of them. I can't reply to all of them. It would take me days, but I do read all of them. So thank you. I really mean it. Feel my gratitude, you guys. Chin down, let it land. It's coming at you, all that gratitude energy. So let's jump into where this model comes from. I get asked this question all the time, and I thought I'd been clear, so I'm going to go through it so you really understand where it came from. For those of you that might be new to the show, there's a little bit of the backstory that you might need to hear so you understand where the model came from and how it evolved into the adult chair model. But way back when, I grew up feeling like I was damaged goods and unlovable, and I was looking for. In my late teens, I started looking for, because I had such bad ruminating thoughts and self-hatred it was bad. And I started looking for the perfect technique to fix my internal self-hatred. And of course, that was leading to the anxiety and depression and other things. And I've always been drawn to psychology and spirituality, meaning like to break it down. I always was drawn to understanding, even like way back when, like childhood stuff, but moving forward, like how does the mind work? Emotions. I wanted to understand emotions. I wanted to understand how we create and creation and God and the universe and energy and how it all comes together. I was a very intuitive kid, so I felt things and I thought, why does my mom not feel what I'm feeling? Because clearly something's going on over here with this person. And realized, of course, then that I was an empath. So, so many things I was curious about always as a child. And with that, I have an internal fire that I have had since I was very young. And it was kind of like the quest began way back when. But having anxiety and depression and this codependency that I later found out that I had really caused me to not really push myself, because I felt pulled versus pushed, to look for, again, this perfect model or technique or tool to make myself feel better, because I just felt bad. Keep in mind, remember, there was no internet. Like we're talking 70s and 80s and 90s, in the 90s, I think the internet came around. But so it was a ton of research that I was doing all the time and taking different classes. But along the way from my teenage years until now, I found an experience and gotten certified in people that know me laugh about this, and I mean this when I say countless. I don't even know how many. I can't even write them all down because there's so many. Countless techniques models, programs, way too many to name, but I'm going to do my best to name some of them at least. So when people ask me where the adult chair came from, it's very, very organic, and it's a combination of some of the best known and unknown teachers and mentors of mine. It's a blend of the very best of the best. So I remember starting out with my counseling practice. It was straight cognitive therapy without any spirituality. I was doing some Gestalt therapy for sure. I've always loved that. But I felt like there was something missing. I intuitively knew there was more that I could do for these clients and was bound and determined to figure it out. So my practice way back when in my 20s became very quickly more of like a holistic integrative kind of practice. I blended again the best of both. I blended the best of both and simplified it for myself first, because I like things simple, and then for my clients. So this is why we say that the adult chair model is simple psychology that meets grounded spirituality. For me, I can't do psychology without spirituality. It's got to go together. And you can't change if you don't understand or if it's too difficult. So healing and transformation does not have to be complicated. It takes work, but doesn't have to be complicated. And in my opinion, what I wanted to do, or what has happened, is that the adult chair model, it really breaks things down so you can understand. And then you have steps, action steps for change and transformation. So 20 years ago, I remember my clients would say things like, I like your style. It's really, really easy to understand. So I've always been breaking things down really simple. I like to simplify everything. And people would say to me, I feel different faster. Like I've been to this other therapist for years and I come to you and boom, why am I changing so fast? I'm like, it's my style. That's how I've always been with myself. So of course I would offer that to my clients. I would share with them what I was learning. So what was, again, happening in my own life was happening with my clients. So in my teens and my early 20s, this is who I've studied. I loved Tony Robbins way back when in my early 20s. I've always loved Wayne Dyer way back when he was around. I remember watching him on PBS and buying all of his books and CDs. Wayne Dyer, he was the man for sure. I loved Deepak Chopra. Brian Weiss. John Bradshaw was someone that I studied way back when in my 20s. Even NLP. I loved neuro-linguistic programming. I took some classes in that as well way back when. So in my early 20s and 30s, and even still today, I studied also, I will never stop studying this, energy medicine, because I think energy is everything. We cannot discount energy or exclude it from our healing process. It's very much a part of our healing and transformation. And I've always wanted to learn more and more and more about energy and how it affects us emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And when you combine all of it, that's when the magic happens. So I remember Gary Craig came on the scene. He introduced emotional freedom technique, or what we call EFT. That was around 1996. I remember jumping on that bandwagon. I was trained in that and learned the advanced teachings of EFT in the 90s. And many, many years ago, I had the pleasure of working with Byron Katie. Debbie Ford, when she was alive, I had the pleasure of working with her in person. She was amazing. Donna Eden, Alan Cohen, Anna Dea Judith. Like, honestly, you guys, I could go on and on. For couples, I've studied under the Gottmans. I've learned, again, another EFT, which is called emotional focused therapy with Sue Johnson. I've studied imago therapy. I've taken many courses of those of you from the Tennessee area or Nashville area with Ted Klontz here. I've taken a lot of coursework with him. I've studied attachment theory, trauma work, somatic experience, hypnotherapy. I love the work of, here we go, Peter Levine, Stephen Porges, and Deb Dana. I had her on the podcast. You'll be hearing from her next week. Bessel van der Kolk, Diane Poole Heller, Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Oh my God, I love him. I mean, all of these people, just to name a few, are influential in the adult chair model. I've studied with Pia Melody out at the Meadows for codependency. I've taken that training. I've learned brain spotting, which is a cousin of EMDR. I've had spiritual teachers and mentors along the way. Many names you honestly wouldn't even know, but I have gratitude for all of them. I have to say, I love to learn, and this will continue until the day I die. No doubt about it. It's just something that it just feeds my soul. So in 2007, we moved to Nashville, Tennessee. And of course, it did not take me long to go find yet another class to sign up for, which I did. And I signed up for a class with Susan Crumpton. During my time with her, we did chair work. Part of my time with her, we did chair work, I should say. And she introduced us to a lot of different chairs. But the three that stood out in my mind at the time, way back when, were the child, the adolescent, and the adult chair. It resonated so deeply with me. And I couldn't shake this feeling that this was the part that I had been looking for, these three chairs. So I went to her and talked to her about it. And I said, I don't know why there's an internal call inside of me to take these chairs and run with them. And I did just that with her blessing. Of course, she said, girl, go with it. Take it and run, which I did. And I've continued to add to this. And I've created a model and a 6-step process. But the foundation of the model is based on her work in these three chairs. So I'm eternally grateful to Susan. Many people have asked me if the adult chair model is similar to IFS, which is internal family systems. That is one thing I have not studied. But when I read about it, I have read about it, obviously, because people keep asking me. I'm like, it sounds similar. I think that this model, from what people have told me, is easier to plug in. But it does sound similar to IFS because you're working with parts. And I have to tell you, a lot of theories out there, they work with parts. For me, that resonates. I remember probably 20 some years ago, I learned a technique called RAPSI. I don't even know if it's around anymore. And that's where I learned parts work, how there's all these different personas and parts within us. And I even did a lot of that with NLP. And that resonated so deeply with me. And that is a big part of the adult chair, no pun intended. But what we do in this adult chair model is work with our parts. We're working with all those parts, whether it be the part of the inner child or the parts that exist in the adolescent chair. Another thing that I've studied that I really loved was Psych-K. It's psychological kinesiology. I even became an advanced practitioner in that. And that's where we're really shifting the unconscious mind. It's a form of really psychological hypnotherapy. But yeah, so again, there have been I don't even know, countless books I've read and some tidbits from other authors. Of course, like Eckhart Tolle's in here, The Power of Presence. My goodness, I could go on and on. Thich Nhat Hanh is in this model. It's a little bit of so many people that I've put in this model, and you'll see and hear aspects of probably some of your favorite teachers in this model, because I might have studied the same person. And what I found too is the more we study this and the more I study, it's like many, many people have similar truths out there. Because they're at the highest point, there's only one truth, which is unconditional love. And we go down from there. So anyway, so this is the adult chair model. I hope that helps you guys, because I know I've been asked this many times. Okay, so let's go into number 3. What is this model? And again, if you want to review the podcast number 1 through 4, that's a really great framework and a basic understanding of what this model is all about. But I'm just going to highlight it for you in case you would like a refresher. Here it is. So from it, when we are in utero, when we are in our mother's bellies, we are already absorbing what's going on the outside of the womb. So think way back. Were you wanted? Were your parents fighting a lot? Were your parents excited to have you join the world? Was there a celebration? This is where it all begins. We're already absorbing things. Our nervous system is picking up cues from the outside world, even in utero. So that's where some of our programming begins. What happens in this is that then when we're born, we sit in what we call the child chair, and that's from 0 to 6. This is where we learn all about true emotions and true needs. So for example, I feel sad. I need a hug. So it's emotional needs, not I need an ice cream cone. It's more emotional needs. We learn all about intimacy and vulnerability, passion, creativity, and fun also in this chair. The thing is that you really got to take note of is that everything that is around us, okay, everything we're hearing, everything we're observing, we are absorbing, and we are forming scripts and beliefs about the world. And we're forming opinions about ourselves and who we need to be in the world in order to be loved and accepted. based on what we're observing in the world. And everything gets recorded from the age of 0 to 6. Everything is recorded. And if we had unhealthy caregivers or caregivers that didn't or couldn't reflect back to our divine, or that we were divine and that we were precious, if our caregivers couldn't do that for us, then we become who they wanted us to be. So we abandon our true selves and become who we think is lovable and acceptable. What we can't and don't know at that age is that we are being projected on oftentimes by our caregivers. So our unhealthy caregivers unknowingly put their stuff, their wounding on us. And it doesn't mean you have to come from this like completely neglected and tragic upbringing. It could be something as simple as, you don't hear I love you, but everything else is taken care of. You live in an expensive home and you have all your financial or all of your needs met because your parents are abundant, but you don't hear I love you, or maybe you didn't receive affection growing up. That sends messages to us as children. Maybe we don't deserve it, or we're not worthy, etc. But all of this is being compiled. It's like the black box in an airplane. It's like everything's recorded. So around the age of 7 is when our ego starts to really come online, and we slide into this adolescent chair. And what happens is the black box of recordings from the child chair is handed to this adolescent chair. And then we live out these scripts and beliefs from this chair. So this child that we once were becomes that's what the inner child is. He steps deep inside and becomes this inner child. Doesn't go away. It's still very much a part of us. So this child makes up pre-adolescence, adolescence, and post-adolescence until the age of 25. We exist here. So when we live here, because this is the seat of the survivor, it's based in fear, we live only in past and future. We cannot live in the relaxed state of the present moment. It's not safe. So we are on guard, and we are just sort of, looking around, wondering like what's going to happen next. We're trying to predict things from this chair. This is where our inner perfectionist, procrastinator, controller, codependent, blamer, shamer. This is where we live with absolutes, like you always do this, you never do that. It's not a bad chair, okay? But this is where these parts are formed. It's the seat, remember, of the unconscious mind. So these parts, they're formed in order for us to survive, and it's unconscious. It's who the ego thinks we are. It's like our identity, like, again, narcissism, the codependent. This is where rage happens, resentment happens here, addiction happens here, grudges that are not let go, I can't forgive so-and-so. And emotions also get stuck here from our ruminating thoughts, because when we're thinking, the child part that has the emotions isn't able to process the emotions because I'm pulling energy out of the child living in the adolescent chair. So it sounds like it's a bad chair, and people often ask me if they can blow it up, but no. It's just doing its best to survive. So, and it lacks awareness. The problem is the ego is unhealthy or out of balance. So what we want to do is raise awareness, raise consciousness, so we can catch ourselves when we're being a perfectionist. We want to heal the ego and bring it back in balance. That's all that this chair is not a terrible chair. We need the ego. It's part of our human experience. So, and this, of course, happens in the adult chair, all the consciousness and the awareness. So around the age of 25, we slide into our adult chair if, big capital IF, if we had caregivers that raised us that were healthy. Because here's the thing, we need a role model to slide into, so we can slide into this chair. It's like, if I have a role model that's healthy, then I know, this is how I need to live healthily. Is that a word? Healthy in this world. Otherwise, what happens is that we get stuck in the adolescent chair from an emotional standpoint, but we are living as physically aging adults. So I might look like I'm 45, but on the inside, I'm acting like my adolescent. I'm acting from my adolescent chair. So what we want to do is step into the adult chair. It's the healthiest version of ourselves. We are sitting here when we're in the present moment, consciousness. We live with fact and truth, not story and assumption. We're empowered. We have boundaries. We respond versus react. We're observers of our child and our emotions, and don't react like we do in the adolescent chair. So we observe and we take care of our child's needs. We observe the nonsense and nonsensical actions and thoughts from the adolescent chair. We don't react to them. We watch and we respond. We watch and respond. So I want to make something clear. This is not a Zen chair, although it could be, but it's not like you're sitting on a meditation pillow, in a mudra with a mudra in your hand, the hand position. No, it could be that, but also we can live our lives and raise kids and have spouses or live alone or whatever is going on in your life, but we're living from our adult. And I set firm boundaries and I'm living in the moment. And I'm not responding, or I'm not reacting, and I'm responding. I allow the feelings of my inner child to come through me. I'm patient. I know everything happens in divine time. My executive functioning is online, which is the prefrontal cortex, all of this. This is living your adult. This is the adult. And this happens, again, the prefrontal cortex comes online when we're 25. So to fully live in your adult chair, it's not that if you're 21, you can't live in your adult, but that prefrontal cortex, like that's an important part of it. But also, ultimately, I should say this, our adult chair, or our healthy adult chair, the most healthy, is when our intuition of the higher self comes and grounds itself into the body and the earth, and when our prefrontal cortex is on. So it's a beautiful combination of our psychology and our spirituality and our biology. We are intuitive and we have internal paced guidance from this chair. You got that? We're intuitive and we have internal paced guidance. So what I do next in my life is coming from an internal place, like deep in my core, versus my mind or my head, this unconscious place that's reacting all over the place and defending itself. So this model in a nutshell, again, is based on 3 chairs, and it's all about learning how to live in your adult chair. So which is the healthiest version of you. But again, for more information on that, if you want a more in-depth explanation, go to the first 4 podcasts that explains it in more detail. So don't worry. I know some of you are going, oh my gosh, I'm not in my adult chair. Don't freak out. Most of us do not live in the adult chair because we don't know how to. But with this model, again, I give you guidelines on how you can get into your adult chair. Okay? You can learn how to do this. You just need that touchstone. Again, it's like, oh, wait, I'm going toward that. So now you know what to go toward. And the model, it shows you where you might be stuck. It'll give you the tools and ideas on how you can move into your adult and change your perspective. In fact, I've gone over 200 topics. I've gone over 200 topics on how to live in the adult chair in this podcast. So if you go to the podcast page and look at the search bar in the top, I think it's right corner, put in a topic. I don't care if it's narcissism, codependency, boundaries, relationships. Those shows all pop up, and I go into how you plug the adult chair model into these topics. I've really done so many different topics. Everything I can possibly think of, I've done a show on. So go there, check it out if you want more information on that. But remember, it's a very simple model to understand and apply, but everything takes work. So it's going to take work to transform your life, but it's possible and it's not as hard as you think, I promise. Okay, so the next thing is number 5 is the adult chair process. Let me teach you how to do this. Again, I'm so excited to actually put this down for you. I'm actually adding it to the website. So if you go to theadultchair.com/model, you will see on the website, you can see exactly what I'm going to talk to you about right now, which are the 6 steps. This is how you can apply this model to anything. I'm going to give you these questions and then you write down your answers, and this will help you get in your adult chair. Okay? Very simple. You know, I like simple. Here we go. Okay. So here are the 6 steps. Number 1, you want to know what happened. What's the event that happened? So for example, what you would write down is, my friend yelled at me and hung up the phone on me. Okay. Number 1. Number 2, the story I made up or my reaction is, write it down. This is what the reaction might be. Well, she's a real bitch. She's so mean and doesn't clearly want to be my friend. I don't know what her problem is. She's so short-tempered. I'm just over her. I don't want to be your friend anymore. I'm done. Okay? There's the story and the reaction. Third step, what chair am I in? So as I'm living in this space, in this state of my story, I'm in my adolescent chair. I'm in a defense. I'm telling a story. Write it down. Number 4, this makes me feel. So when we think about what's going on here with this event, this makes me feel, from our child chair now, sad. I'm lonely. I'm afraid. I don't want to lose her. Perfect. Number 5, when I slide into my adult chair, here's what's true. So this is where we list truths. So what I advise people to do is, so before we do this, when we get in our adult chair, center yourself and slow down. Remember, we want to get that prefrontal cortex back online. I want my internal guidance system to kick in. I got to slow down and connect with it first so I can list my bullet pointed truths. You guys know I love that, the bullet point truths. So take a moment. When I slide into my adult chair, here's what's true. Here's my bullet point truths. Here we go. Okay, take a moment. So with my friend here, I would say, well, she's really overwhelmed at work. That's true. Number 2, she and her husband have been fighting a lot. That's true. She told me she hasn't been sleeping. Okay. She's been my friend for 25 years and we've always made it through anything. Perfect. So what we want to do is first, again, get centered and then list your truths. That's number 5. Number 6, this is again, now from our adult chair, what are we going to do next? 2 things. We're either going to take action, so there are action steps, or we're going to pause. So take a breath and find your truth. Do I need an action step or do I pause? Because from our adult chair, we can wait. There's no rush. Everything's happening in divine time. Do I need to take action? Our adolescent is going to be like, let's do it right now. We got to hurry up and do it. Something bad's going to happen. No. When I connect to that internal, beautiful guidance system, it's going to guide me from a much different place than my unconscious adolescent chair. So I invite people to breathe and let's find your truth. So here would be the truth, which is action step 6, or number 6, which is action step or pause, would be, I'm going to wait a day and call her tomorrow and check in with her and let her know that I love her and I'd like to talk to her when she's ready. Done. There it is. There it is. 6-step formal process for this model. I'm very much looking forward to hearing from you guys on this. I want to hear how you're using this, how you like it, and how you're applying it. Because I really feel like people needed this. So I have put it down for you. Again, go to theadultchair.com/model, and I'll put that in the show notes too. And you're going to be able to now apply this with your own life. Or if you're a therapist or coach, you can use it with your clients. Okay. The very last thing that I want to share with you guys is something that completely blows me away yet again, kind of like the 200th episode of this podcast. I'm like, what in the world? I was just really sitting in contemplation and reflection about everything that's going on with the adult chair. And I'm like, everything's been moving so fast. It took me a minute to sit down and go, what exactly do I have for these people? And I'm like, there's a lot. And I love free. That's a big part of doing this podcast. So here are the offerings I have for you guys. If you go to courses.theadultchair.com, again, I'll put it in show notes. We've got, my favorite thing in the world, inner child work. It's the most powerful thing I've done to transform. It is the foundation of everything. I have a free inner child resource for you guys. It's got journaling prompts. It's got meditations in there. It's really a beautiful way to get yourself started on this process. The other thing that I've really grown to love is that we do about 3 to 4 adult chair live events every single year. The next one's in Nashville, April 2nd through 4th. We've got the adult chair book on Amazon. You can go to Amazon and just put in the adult chair. There's a book on the adult chair. It's a very simple guide. It's like an introduction to the adult chair, but it's very simple about what it is and how and what these 3 chairs are all about. Then we've got, of course, my baby. Well, another baby. I've got a lot of babies. The adult chair membership. For those of you, I kept having people ask me, they want to go deeper. They want to do self-work. I love self-work. I do a lot of it myself. So I've created this membership for just exactly that. Every month, I now do a live teaching for an hour on a certain theme. We pick a theme every single month, and the whole month is based on that one theme to do a deep dive. I do a live teaching on Zoom. You guys, everyone in there joins me. I've got a meditation that goes with the live theme or the live teaching. I work with 2 members for free every single month, and I do mini sessions with them that are recorded, so then you can watch how I use this adult chair model with people. I also have a live, it's turned in now to a 90-minute Q&A every single month where you can write in and ask any question you want. I do my best to answer every question. Also, there's weekly writing and journaling prompts, all again based on this monthly theme. Then, of course, we have the TAC Tribe Facebook group. So it's a beautiful way to take this adult chair model, to take it and really apply it into your life and really do a lot of self-work and take yourself on a deeper dive. And lastly, the most humbling thing that I have to offer now is launching in June, and that is the Adult Chair Coaching Certification. We are, blown away by this. I can't even believe that those words came out of my mouth. But if you have looked at the certification in the last 2 weeks, we have made some changes that might interest you very much. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Go check that out too. I'll put all this information in the show notes. Basically, you guys go to theadultchair.com. Everything is there that I've mentioned. And that's it. So lots of wonderful things, more offerings coming for you guys. I'm really here. I feel like God, the universe, placed me on this planet to help as many people really step away from their pain, learn how to transform their pain into feeling self-love. That was my journey. I lived a life of self-hatred and anxiety, depression, codependency. I don't live like that anymore. It's not to say that I'm blissed out every day. I'm still human, but I certainly don't live with so much shame and self-hatred anymore. And I owe it to, again, all these beautiful teachers that I've experienced along the way this is why I built the whole adult chair model. So you guys or someone you know can learn how to heal themselves, how to transform using these very, very simple steps. So thank you again to all of you that have joined me in workshops and membership and certification. And for those of you that listen weekly, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Thank you for showing up with me every single week. I really love you guys all so much. Have a beautiful week. And I will see you seated right here next week for episode 201 in my adult chair.